Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1.
Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a big Monday edition of the JP Peterson Show with Nick Gators from On3 Sports. We got lots to get to today. The Gators survive and head to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2017. Victor Hovland beats Justin Thomas at the wire, and he has no idea how he did it. No idea. The least confident golfer in the world to win a PGA Tour event. So we'll get into that. The Bolts fall to the Knights last night in Vegas. They crap out in Vegas. Not a good first period, but certainly some things to take from that. And Sugar Shane is hurt again. I know Nick Geddes from On3 Sports. You are crushed.
Crushed. Absolutely crushed. I even wore my Shane McClanahan Devil Rays jersey today here.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And I'm acting as if he's out for the season. There's actually good news on it. Okay. We did get good news about it yesterday. But for a minute there on Saturday, I was like, I hate this sport. I hate everything about it. And because I was just like, here we go again. And my mind immediately goes to, like, is Shane McClanahan ever going to pitch for the Rays again? Like, you just don't know with all these injuries. But thankfully, we got some better news and everything that we'll cover today. But yes, for a little bit on Saturday, I think we were all holding our breath, Rays, for about 24 hours.
Yeah, this franchise seems to be a little snake bit.
You think? You think?
Yeah. Maybe a little change in aura might help this team. Oh, by the way, before we go any further, I do have a personal note to announce today. If you'll allow me here a moment here. Love is in the air. Love is in the air with me and Tay. Yeah, she dropped that Neanderthal that plays for KC, and love is in the air. And I just would like if everyone would grant us our privacy as we go through this incredible journey together, me and Tay. Thank you.
You don't have any pictures in a hammock for us? You don't have any of that to bring to the table today?
Wait, I got this one. The hammock picture. Oh, damn. Where's the Tiger picture? So if you haven't seen this, folks, this is Tiger Woods and his new squeeze, Vanessa Trump, who's somebody, like Ashley just told me she's in her 40s and has like 5 kids. Look at her. She looks great. Congratulations. So her and Tiger are now officially dating. He announced, and he literally says this: love is in the air and life is better with you by my side. We look forward to our journey through life together. At this time, we would appreciate privacy for all of those close to our hearts. Is that the most social media thing ever, to announce your relationship on Twitter and then ask for privacy? Have a professional photographer take some nice little photos of you two.
Yeah, it's not like you're Tiger Woods or anything. You know, we we always have given him privacy, haven't we? We've always have. And he couldn't possibly have done anything in his life during his career, anything to ever warrant, not giving him privacy, has he? No.
I mean, it's just silly. First of all, everybody knew you were dating Vanessa Trump, so you didn't need to announce it. And second of all, you're never getting any privacy. Sorry.
No. That's
just kind of the way it works. You're Tiger Woods. And, that's just not going to happen. But I digress. So let's get into it as we first of all, I had an awesome week at the Valspar. So big thanks to Rondé Barber, who stopped by on Thursday. Gave us a great interview, by the way. If you're a Bucs fan, golf fan, great interview. Go back to Thursday's show. He was in the first hour, like 3 minutes in, and we talked a lot about the Bucs culture. How much he loves Baker Mayfield. Talk about how the defense probably needs to be simplified to be more effective, and obviously adding a true edge rusher and Hassan Reddick will certainly help them. So it's a really interesting interview, and he says a lot of, I thought, some things we had not heard before. So go check that out. But Rondé and Tracy West and the entire crew at Valspar, what a weekend. The weather was fantastic. A little chilly here and there, but I mean, my God, who's complaining? The place looked absolutely great. Great crowds out there, and what a finish they had yesterday. Victor Hovland, who basically said in the post interview, I'm standing over the 3-iron on 16, and I really have no idea where it's going. No idea where it's going. This is one of the hardest holes, finishing holes on the PGA Tour, the snake pits, 15, 16, and 17. 16 and 17 especially are just brutal. Because 16, you've got to hit it to a very thin fairway over water. If you hit it too far, you're blocked out. If you hit it too short, you're in the water. And it's probably still going to leave you about a 200-yard shot to a sloping green and a back right pin that is diabolical. And kudos to Victor Hovland, who steps up with that 3-iron and hits it to 5 feet and then makes the putt. I mean, what a freaking shot. JT had just come through before him. Justin Thomas shot 65, 66. I think any time in history that would have been good enough to win this golf tournament. But not with Victor Hovland, who really hasn't played well since the 2023 Tour Championship. He missed his last 3 cuts. He self-admitted no confidence, has no idea where the ball's going. Then he sets up on 17, 222-yard par 3, and hits it to 12 feet and makes the putt. So he birdies 16 and 17, and JT, who had a 2-shot lead with 4 holes to play, bogeys 18 and 16. And on 18, he hits his drive left in the rough, comes up short in the bunker, and then hit what I thought was a great bunker shot. Because if he gets it up and down, he would have been in playoff if he gets it up and down. But because Victor also bogeyed 18. It just wasn't to be for Justin, but he played tremendous golf on the weekend, about as good as you could play that course, because 65, that was the low round of the tournament, and back that up with a 66. He's normally going to win. But just a tremendous week, a tremendous finish. The ratings must have been really, really good, even going up against basketball. And we'll get to that in a second. But I thought an incredible weekend for the Valspar. They also announced a couple weeks ago they got the 5-year extension from Valspar. So our PGA Tour tournament has never been in better shape. And that's despite it not being named a signature event, which is really hard to get a field. They had a great field. 24 of the top 50 for a non-signature event is unheard of. So, again, and by the way, the Jordan Davis concert was fantastic. I didn't know he was that good in concert. He was really, really good. We got some nice VIP up front, not too far from the stage. So Ashley and I had a pretty good time enjoying Jordan Davis, which I'm sure you're a fan. No?
Well, we for the purpose of the show, we could say yes.
No, that's okay. You don't feel it, you don't have to say yes.
No, I don't feel it. No.
By Dirt is not a great song.
Not a big Jordan Davis guy. No, not my style. Not my style. But I digress.
Wow.
I digress. I liked when Darius Rucker did it a couple years ago. But anywho, to the point you said about the Valspar Championship and it competing against March Madness this weekend in particular, I thought this was interesting. I've been on vacation for like 2 weeks, full disclosure, and I've been like everywhere. But I was in Napa this past week with my wife celebrating our anniversary. Great trip, by the way. Great trip. And
nice.
The last day, we spent it in this little place called Point Reyes Station. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with this. If you look at it on a map, it looks like you're literally chilling out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and it's crazy. But we were in the little town area there at a pizza shop, and they had one TV in this store, and it was Thursday for March Madness, but they were not showing March Madness. They were showing the Valspar Championship. And so I did get to watch about an hour of the action on Thursday. I thought that was interesting. They were playing golf. They were not playing March Madness over there in that little pizza shop in the middle of nowhere.
There you go.
So I was set up great. And then, of course, Saturday I did nothing but watch golf and March Madness, and then the same thing yesterday. So I got to see a lot of this. And, I thought this was, to me, like if you're the Valspar Championship, obviously golf is golf, competition's competition. You can't manufacture what you would like to see, right, at the top of the leaderboard. But throughout the weekend, the best players who were in this field, the Shane Lowrys of the world, the Justin Thomases of the world, Jordan Spieth had a moment there where he was surging. Xander Schauffele had a moment on Saturday, I believe, where he was surging. And then Justin Thomas sort of quietly comes through the field. And here we go on Sunday, and it's Justin Thomas versus Victor Hovland. This is two of the most popular players on tour who are both going through losing streaks. Justin Thomas hasn't won in over 1,000 days, if you can believe it. Former number one player in the world. And then Hovland hasn't won since the 2023 Tour Championship. His whole 2024 was wrecked by the fact that he was going through like these swing mechanic issues and he couldn't figure it out. This whole time to start 2025, he's on record saying, yeah, I don't really have any idea where the ball's going. And then he just shows up at the Valspar Championship, which looked like it was in very difficult condition to play this week. Yeah. And he wins the tournament. And that's golf. But I just feel like if you're the Valspar Championship, could you script it any better to have Victor Hovland, Justin Thomas, those two guys duking it out on a Sunday afternoon where there's a loaded sports slate, especially with March Madness going on? Like, it was great theater. It was great theater.
It was tremendous theater. And that rough, let me tell you, walking out there all week and seeing guys get in the rough, and obviously you get up right next to them, you can see where somebody's lies are. And this is the way the PGA Tour is supposed to be played. Back in the day, this was the way it was played. If you missed the fairway, there was a penalty for missing the fairway. These guys that just bomb at 350 don't care if they're in the rough because, they're still going to get it up to the green because they don't make the rough penal enough. And it just becomes a bomber's paradise every tour event. This is the way, memo to all the other tour events. This is what you got to do. Make people put it in the fairway. Justin missed the fairway at 18. Guess what? Bogey. Victor missed the fairway at 18. Guess what? Bogey. You could not get the ball. You couldn't advance the ball more than 120, 130 yards, and you had no idea really where it was going. The rough was that deep. So it really, when you looked at the leaderboard, it was a little different. You had to play precise golf. You had to hit the ball in the fairway, and I thought it made for much better golf. That's what it should be. And it's interesting. I remember watching Victor Hovland in his run in 2023, especially at the Tour Championship, and I was just sitting there watching him and go, I don't think this dude has missed a shot. Like, I don't think he has missed a shot in the last 4 tournaments I've seen him play. And then he just loses it. He just completely loses it to the point where even yesterday when he wins, he's like, yeah, I'm just trying to time it up. I mean, I've never – they're like, so what does this mean for the Masters? He's like, I don't know. I've never seen a less confident press conference in my history. It was actually kind of funny to be quite honest. But he hit 2 shots at 16 and 17 that will not be forgotten in the lore of this particular tournament. It was unbelievable stuff. All right, B's already in, and he's on you. He's like, JP, I think your sidekick is wealthier than you hanging out in Napa with Gavin Newsom. Yeah, did you see your buddy Gavin out there?
No, but can I tell you this? Granted, the only California was awesome, and if you're looking for scenic views, when you're in North California like that, it's everywhere you look. It's I'm in awe. I have just so many pictures that we took. That's going to make a great album one day. I think it's my favorite trip I've ever taken. I mean, seriously,
yeah, Sonoma, Monterey Peninsula, Sonoma. Been there a few times. It's as beautiful as anywhere in the world. California itself is an absolutely stunning state. The weather, the beaches, the cliffs, the golf, you could snow ski and go to the beach in the same day. It's one of the most amazing places in the world. And they have effed it up so bad that people can't even live there anymore. I mean, that's the sad part about California. It is amazing. God made one of the most amazing pieces of land in California. And only humans like us and leftists can F it up. And that's exactly what they've done. But whatever. San Francisco, you probably didn't even go to San Francisco.
Okay, so we flew into San Francisco, so we had to drive. We drive over the Golden Gate Bridge, which was cool, and then we stopped at a lookout point right over there at the bay.
Oh, it's incredible.
And then coming back, we had like a few hours before we had to take off to go to Phoenix first. And so I was like, well, if I'm going to go through San Francisco, the only thing I really want to see, because I don't know much about San Francisco, but I could tell by looking at the city, the way it's structured, I was like, this looks like insane. Because, obviously the roads like all just go like straight up, and then they go like this, and then they go up. It's like, it's nuts. And I was like, well, I kind of want to go see Oracle Park, because just bucket list item, the San Francisco Giants where they play baseball, that's like one of the best stadiums. And I was like, well, I want to see it for myself. So I went over there and I walked out and I walked around the perimeter of the Oracle Park. And of course, very jealous that they get to play in that every single night. Just beautiful.
A real baseball stadium. Yeah.
Got to go catch a game there at some point. But yeah, San Francisco, I mean, it was just like I've never been in I've been in New York City, obviously, and that's its own animal. But San Francisco was very, I guess, unique is the way I would say it, with the roads and everything.
Oh, God, yes.
And you're in like different areas of town, like just out of nowhere, like one street later. And then I saw this one weird looking car go by and I said, who's driving that? And then as it got closer, I went, nobody's driving it. It was one of those Waymo cars. They already have it's called Waymo. They already have the cars that nobody's driving, and they're taxi or Uber type deals. And so it's really interesting when you're sharing the road with one of those. I don't know if anybody's got a chance to do that yet.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, San Francisco was San Francisco. I mean, I probably wouldn't have a reason to go back unless it's for a Giants game, to be honest. Yeah. But
so
everything
looking
else.
At that stadium, you still think the Trop is the best baseball stadium in the world?
First of all, I never said that. I said it had charm. I said it was misunderstood. But no, Oracle Park is in its own. It's in its own tier, and the Trop is nowhere near that.
And we are days away from outdoor baseball for the Rays and Rockies for opening day. Cannot wait for that. We'll get to the Rays, by the way. We got some stuff on them as well. In fact, we might well just transition to a little Rays talk here. At 10:30, by the way, Coach Zimroth is going to join us. So we will be talking some basketball with him, not only March Madness, but also Luke Laux, the new FSU coach. And we'll also talk about March Madness and who's going to be the new USF coach. So that's coming up. Eric Erlinson will join us at 11:15 to talk some Bolts as well. So let's talk a little Sugar Shane. I mean, Saturday when I looked down at my phone and I went, oh my God, triceps, because that just tells me here we go again. It's going to be his third Tommy John, and Shane McClanahan. Same reaction as you had. He's never going to pitch for the Rays. And then we all said, well, good thing we held on to our 6 starters because we knew somebody was going to get hurt. We knew that was coming. And here we are. But I guess now we could say the news is good, but as you well know, anything that comes out of the Rays, you have to take with a grain of salt. Because I can't tell you how many times we've heard this from, pitchers. Oh, it doesn't look serious. And then, next thing we know, they're going to get Tommy John again. So, but according to the Rays, it's a twinge in the tricep. The MRI came back clear, so there's no torn ligaments, no nothing. Is that's what we're hearing?
Yeah, inflamed triceps was the inflamed nerve in his left triceps was the way Passan wrote it.
And what the expectation is? What, a month or two? What are we thinking?
Well, they haven't put a time frame on it. I've seen some people like saying that they've had this before, and they say like, 2 to 4 weeks rest, 2 to 4 weeks rehab, blah blah blah. Like I've seen people say that, but you never really know. And as you said, we've been down the road before where we hear things about Rays injuries with pitchers, and we go, oh well, that's not too bad. And then the next thing we know, they're out for like forever. Right? I feel like like you said, we've been down this road before. It just sucks. It's like, I feel like last year, the Rays season was like snake bitten with injuries before it even started. 2023 quickly unraveled with so many injuries at the end. Like, can we like ever just like get to like the start of the season, like just fully healthy for once? Like I already know, like they signed Kim and you knew he was going to be out till May. We already knew that, but Sugar Shane McClanahan, we haven't seen him pitch since the summer of 2023. We're now approaching the summer of 2025. He worked his ass off to get back, and the Rays didn't waste any time giving him the nod, and we're like, hey, you're going to start opening day for us, which honestly should be the play if he's healthy to go. You watch the stuff in spring training, it's been electric. It looks like the Shane McClanahan that was starting the All-Star game 3 or 4 years ago. It looked like that guy, and now we have a setback, so that stinks. But the thing about the Rays that we know, are the Rays a better team with Shane McClanahan healthy? Of course they are. At the same time, do I expect this pitching staff to have some major fall off without Shane McClanahan? Probably not. Because depending on what they were going to do, Zach Littell was probably going to be the sixth guy in the rotation. And I'm here to tell you, if Zach Littell is the sixth guy in the rotation, your rotation's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So the Rays probably will be okay, depending on how long he's out.
It's fragile. It's very fragile.
Yeah.
Now every one of these guys has had Tommy John 3 or 4 times. I'm a little hyperbole there. So, Taj is not a finished product, right? He's got great stuff, but we still haven't seen the consistency. Pepio, I mean, I don't expect him to throw 200 innings. I don't expect anybody to throw 200 innings anymore. But it just, he's not super proven. None of these guys have a 4 or 5 year track record of throwing 175 innings and, making 24 starts. Nobody. So they all have great talent, but no long track record. So it's still a bit of a question mark, but the talent is off the charts. For a starting 5, that's pretty good stuff right there. And a bullpen that I expect to be a top 5 bullpen in the league as well with the arms that they have. Again, all of them kind of have question marks. They're young, or they're Pete Fairbanks, or they're, who you never – I mean, when Pete's right, he's one of the best in the game, but we know what happens with him and the nerve endings and whatever. So let's just hope he's healthy and has a good year. We love him to death. But again, all of these guys have mostly youth and inexperience. That's the question mark. But they all are just off the charts in terms of talent. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun to watch. But I'm still, as we go into this right now with this lineup, question marks abound as to productivity offensively.
Well, I mean, did you see Junior Caminero yesterday at the at his home stadium, by the way? His home stadium, going Oppo against the Yankees. We love that. Junior's got, 4 home runs this spring? Yeah. I think Brandon Lau has 4 home runs this spring. Mm-hmm. And Brandon playing in that ballpark, I mean, I'm just going to – Brandon Lau hit 39 home runs a few years ago when he was able to actually stay healthy for a full season. Right. He does that. I don't think 40's off the table for Brandon Lau. I might be
not with that short porch.
With that short porch in right field, I mean, I don't think it's off the table. I don't know.
I would love to see somebody go back and look at his outs to right field. Even last year, you can do it from last year, but you go back to that 39 home run season and tell me if he's playing in Steinbrenner Field, how many home runs he has. Maybe 50?
Mm-hmm.
Did he have 11, 12 balls to the warning track that would probably be out at Steinbrenner? Probably, because I think the ball will carry better outdoors as well.
Yeah.
So even the marks that he had at Tropicana Field will probably be better. So yeah, okay, but once again, big question mark if he stays healthy.
Right.
If he stays healthy.
No, hey, I agree with you. There's lots of question marks, but I'm just saying if they get I think the ceiling for the offense is a lot greater than what it was last year for sure. And I think the floor is even higher.
Well, I know they used to highly discourage players from talking about the toll that crappy turf played on them. I wonder how many players, like after a month, will say, "Man, my body feels so much better playing here at Steinbrenner Field, outdoors on real grass and on without the concrete underneath and the toxic waste." I wonder. Truth. That may play a part. You never know. It's seeping through the ground. So I wonder how many guys will just be, and Brandon Lau, how much better will his back be without the constant pounding of being on that terrible turf? Could be a factor in a very positive way. So yeah, I still see a lot of question marks in the lineup. All right. And obviously Josh Lowe, we need to get huge production from him. Caminero, all of these guys have the ability, but will they be able to do it and put it together? We'll see. I think this team could be. I think they could win 98 games. I think they could win 78 games. I think that's the disparity in this team, and I think I'll make my prediction on Wednesday, but I think I'm erring towards about 88 to 92 wins. Right in that area.
I think that gets them a playoff spot.
Yeah, that gets them a playoff spot. Gives them a playoff spot. But I think that's where this team could be. But I do think it could be 78. I do think it could be 98. I think there's a lot of disparity on the potential of this team. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. I like you said, there's a lot of unknowns, but I feel like the talent on the roster, I think, is evident. And especially like, you mentioned the bullpen and Fairbanks. Yeah, sometimes he has those injuries that pop up, but I don't think they have to rely as much on Fairbanks this year as in recent years. When you look at, Edwin Yacida, who is just absolutely filthy. You look at Mason Montgomery from the left side. You look at Manuel Rodriguez, Clevenger, Vassell, Englert, Kelly. I think I just named the whole bullpen right there of guys. Outside of Kelly, guys who all throw near 97 to 100. The stable's back. The Rays' best version of their bullpen is back this year. So, you're able to shorten games that way when you have a great bullpen, as we know. So they're going to pitch well. It's just, can you give me a league average offense or better? That's all I'm asking. Give me the league average or better. And I think the Rays will safely get to 90 wins.
I just can't wait to see everything. And by the way, I think there's 300 tickets left for opening day for all those people that. What's that?
We're 5 days away. We're 5 days. No, wait, are we 4 days away? 4 days away, aren't we?
4 days. Yeah, 4 days away.
4 days.
Yeah. The stadium is undergoing its transformation from Yankees to Rays as we speak.
Yeah,
I'll be very interested to see what it looks like. What's that?
I said we're kicking them out. We're kicking them out.
Let's be nice.
Yeah, screw that.
No, not screw that. They're being very nice to us. The Yankees are. Hey, the owner of the Yankees does a hell of a lot more for Tampa Bay than the owner. All right,
you got me.
Let's just put it that way. And we'll do a little update on that as we go through. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, Coach Z is going to join us, former assistant coach at USF, FSU, and Georgia, has coached in the March Madness NCAA tournament. We'll get his thoughts on this tournament. Plus, Luke Louch hired at FSU. Who's going to be the next USF coach? Lots to talk about in local hoops. So stay with us. We're brought to you by the G's Law Group, JEEVESLawgroup.com. Any legal issues whatsoever, you get a free case evaluation at JeevesLawGroup.com. Non-attorney spokesman, offices, Tampa, St. Pete. Back in 3. Old Hurricane Helene put a hurting on Tampa Bay, and for many of you, the rebuild will be a long process. You must beware of unscrupulous contractors offering up quick fixes for incredible prices. It's a scam. So go with long-standing, reputable companies like Third Generation Plumbing and AC. My friend John Rodriguez has been serving Tampa Bay since 1995 with hundreds of 5-star reviews. If you need a new AC system or any home repairs from Helene, they will work with insurance companies to get you taken care of quickly, expertly installed, of course, and a 1-year maintenance plan and 10-year warranty included on all AC units. 0% financing for 60 months. Contact them at thirdgenerationplumbing.com or 813-961-8024. That's 813-961-8024, thirdgenerationplumbing.com. So many of our Tampa Bay neighbors are finding out the hard way from Hurricane Helene that homeowners insurance does not cover flood damage. You must have flood insurance. It's a separate policy. Immediately call Italiano Insurance at 813-877-7799, and they will shop around to find the best policy before rates go up. Lock it in. Over 60% are underinsured in Florida, or you're not getting your discounts that you're entitled to. So do an insurance checkup at Italiano, and they could save you thousands of dollars. Italiano will make sure you're with a highly rated insurer, so there are no surprises in your time of need. Our hearts go out to all our neighbors devastated by Helene. These are the times we're proud to protect all the pieces of your life. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
Ciao, Paolo Tini here, owner of Caffè Paradiso, voted number 3 People's Choice Award on Open Table. I want to thank all our loyal family of customers that have been enjoying our great traditional Italian dishes we make from scratch every day. It's a great family story we're proud of. Our family moved from Rimini, Italy in 1984. My dad, Caesar, started Donatello, and that's where I got the start in the restaurant business. I started Caffè Paradiso on South McDill in 1995, and we've been there ever ever since. From our traditional ossobuco, a veal slow roast for 4 hours, to our daily fresh catch, the Gruppo Paradiso, with a piccata sauce and lobster claw meat, homemade pasta like lasagna, farfalle salchicha, which is a bow tie pasta homemade with fresh sausage. Hold on a minute, JP's favorite.
I love it.
So come and have a glass of wine with me on South McDill. Get a reservation on Open Table and see all our 5-star reviews. Ciao, see you soon at Paradiso.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here as we roll on in this manic Monday after the first 2 rounds of March Madness. We are brought to you by the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source. Their Match Madness is going on right now. Match Madness, something like that. You buy a $500 gift card, you get a $500 gift card this week. Last week it was $1,000. Hope you didn't miss out on that. This week it's $500. Buy a $500 gift card, get one for $500, so you can buy one for you, get one for your lady. Great for gifts, all that good stuff. But your buying power has dramatically increased at the Gold and Diamond Source. So head on down there, 3800 Homerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. All right, let's bring in our basketball guru, Mr. DZ Sports, David Zimroth, former FSU, USF, and Georgia assistant coach, has coached in March Madness. Should have been to the Final Four in 1994, Z? Was it 94 or 93?
93, but I blame that on you and Gene Deckerhoff.
It was my fault.
You can't take us out partying and expect us to win.
That must have been you and Gene, because I wasn't there. But congratulations. You guys took care of that yourself. So I'll you and Patty.
We knew how to celebrate a win, that's for sure.
That's right. All right, let's get right into it with the Gators. Those 2 shots that Walter Clayton Jr. hit yesterday, those 2 threes, dude, that is big time. That is big time. That's what you need, right, in this tournament. You need a guy like that can get his own shot and make his own shot like that, right?
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine this morning. What is unbelievable about Walter Clayton, with the game on the line, he's a right-handed player, right-handed shooter. He dribbles right and lifts up and just shoots jumpers from outside the 3 like it's nothing. It's probably the hardest thing to do for a right-handed shooter is to go right because you're not squared. So you got to do everything in one motion. And, I mean, those shots were so pure. He's a big game player. What I love about his background is started at Lake Wales, went to Bartow, won a couple state championships. Nobody recruited him in high school. Went to Iona, played a couple of years, got great guidance and player development from Coach Pitino. Then he wants to leave and come back, and the Gators, we're not going to lose that kid. Nobody in Polk County was going to make sure that kid was going to Florida.
Well, and how do you get out of Florida when he's winning state championships? I mean, and that there a lot of the guys, Martin, all of them are transfers, right? Most of the guys on this Gator team.
Yeah. I think he's got Aberdeen, I think, is a sub. He was a high school signee. But I'll tell you one thing about this coach of Florida, and I don't know how he's done it. What he's done with the development of those 4 big kids is amazing. And then you put that with the 3 or 4 experienced guards. They are the most talent 1 through 8, in my opinion. I've been saying it for a couple months. And I thought yesterday's game, the way they had to grind out a game that they're not used to playing in, because nobody plays like that in the SEC. Connecticut was going to determine and dictate the tempo, and they gutted it out, wound up winning. I think that's going to help them immensely in this next round. Yeah,
I would agree. Let's look at the way the game, and you mentioned that it was kind of a slugfest. They're down late in this game. So what is that from an X's and O's standpoint? What does that do for the players moving forward? And because they got Maryland next, who won on a buzzer beater. Right. So how does that make them a better team?
I just think the kids at Florida realized and learned how to play in a game like that. Because in the NCAA tournament, you have a day to prepare for your opponent, maybe a few extra days if you get to the Sweet 16. So you got to figure out how you're going to play against someone else's, way of playing. So, for example, they're playing against Maryland. I got a feeling that game might get a little up and down. But when you have to prepare against Connecticut, you're going to play man. You got to figure out a way to be able to go possession by possession. You're not going to score 90 points like you're used to scoring. And I think now they're used to playing in a bunch of different ways. So regardless of who their next or couple opponents are, they're going to feel very confident about how the style of play is going to be.
Agreed. Nick, you want to jump in here?
Yeah, from the other side of it, UConn obviously back-to-back national champions, and I figured that would probably be closer than what people maybe would have expected because, I rate Dan Hurley, obviously I think we all do, as one of the best coaches in college basketball, but with that being said, I think we all agree this was a great coaching job he did this year to go out like that against Florida, but then, it's always we're talking about Dan Hurley and sort of the things he says, the way he acts after, and immediately like he goes into the tunnel and he's, talking about the refs and everything, how they stole that from him. And then he's talking about his ego and everything in the press conference. Do you personally think these things are big issues that people should be highlighting, or should we just be looking at this guy that he's his own dude? He's very unique. And obviously he's a hell of a coach.
Look, I'm a big believer. You got to tell the truth and you got to be who you are. This is what Danny Hurley's about. He grew up in one of the most prominent basketball families in the history of our country. Okay. The success, the down, the failures, all that stuff in that Hurley family has been documented. I don't know why they keep making it a big deal unless he's sanctioned by his administration. This is what he's going to say and this is how he's going to act. And with social media the way it is, it's going to be, ramped up a ton. In the old days, you just walk off the court, nobody knew what you said. In the old days, you didn't even shake hands with the opposing coaches. The teams didn't shake hands. Heck, guys didn't even shake hands and jump balls. Everything's changing. And I think the fact that he can be honest. Look, this guy was on 60 Minutes and he was honest about his mental health issues, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's time to give the guy a little credit for what he's done and not bash him for some of the things he says. All these coaches, they say things they shouldn't say. They regret them. That's what happens. That's sports. It happens in every sport.
I agree. And if you caught him coming off the floor, he's like, we got effed. Hope they don't do that to you, Baylor, about the refs. Listen, he's human. I agree with you, Z. He's human. I like people being human. You don't have to like it. People can criticize him, but that's fine too. He's going to be who he is, and he's not unapologetic about it. As long as he's not, picking out specific people and going after them, and right. Which he doesn't do. I'm good with it. I think it's a testament to him as a coach, really, that he's been able to come through all this, and I like it. I like people being themselves as long as they're not going after other people. So Florida has Maryland, who wins on a buzzer beater, and I love Derek Queen, I think his name is. Mm-hmm. And they asked him, where do you get the confidence to do that? And the coach said in the huddle, have you ever done this, Z, in the huddle? Who wants the ball for the last shot with 3 seconds to go? And I guess Queen, a freshman, said, give me the MF ball. Give me the ball. And coach is like, okay, you got it, kid. And he made the shot. He said, because I'm from Baltimore.
I love
Who else is from Baltimore that makes those last minute shots, Z?
Sammy Cassell.
Sammy Cassell. That's exactly who I thought of.
No. The guys used to basically we'd call a timeout, we'd draw up a play, and they did what they wanted. Those veteran teams, they knew exactly what to do, who should have the ball. The kid made an unbelievable shot for a kid his size to go and left, go off his inside foot, use the backboard. On top of that, the kid from Colorado State with that huge three. It was as good an ending to a basketball game as I've seen in a long time. I was hoping Colorado State would win. I wanted a little bit of a Cinderella feel to, this tournament. Because, if I was coaching there, I wouldn't consider myself a mid-major. But at the end of the day, they're not a Power Four conference. And I thought they played great. I thought New Mexico played great. I was hoping they won. I think it adds a little bit more to the tournament when you can have a team from a lesser or, not as publicized conference playing. I think it adds to everything.
I was going to ask real quick, speaking of the, I feel like a lot of people have been talking about this tournament and feeling like, oh, where's the excitement? And I think they're like maybe equating that to like there's been a lack of like until yesterday we got the buzzer beater in that game, the Colorado State game.
Mm-hmm.
But there hasn't been like that big moment yet. I think a lot of the bigger seeds are starting to roll past these like smaller teams. It's like, is this just like NIL transfer portal has sort of like made it this way to where it's harder for the mid-majors to compete, and maybe it's taking a little bit of that excitement away because the top teams are more loaded than they're used to be?
I just think some of the mid-majors or the non-power four conference schools, they've had just some tough breaks. So look, New Mexico was up 10 yesterday and dominating the game. They came out a little flat in the second half. Colorado State, that's a big time Cinderella story. Nobody looks at them as a basketball power, yet they had unbelievable season. But there've been a lot of blowouts in the first round, so I think that took a little bit away. And then look, at the end of the day, the favorite teams are supposed to win,
right.
And so now they're winning, and everybody's like, where's the Cinderella? Well, those teams are not supposed to win, so you lose a little of that drama, but you're in the Sweet 16 Elite 8 this weekend. I mean, you can't ask for better teams and, better storylines.
Well, Z, I'll ask you, though, we were talking about this yesterday. Jay Billis was mentioning this as well, and Jay Williams, about the mid-majors. This is the death of the mid-majors, because you look at the players. Look at, like we just mentioned, Walter Clayton Jr. came from Iona.
Right.
If he was still playing at Iona, they might be in the Sweet 16. All of these transfers, you just saw McNeese State, right? Their entire team, including the manager, is now going to NC State, right? I mean, it's so we look at Janai Broom from Tampa Catholic, who was at Morehead State. Now he's at Auburn. If he was still at Morehead State might be in the Sweet 16. So with the transfer portal open in NIL, does this mean the death of mid-majors for the tournament?
I think the reality is setting in, meaning the lower to mid-major schools, they are going to have to be unbelievable at evaluating and managing their NIL. Whatever their NIL, let's take a school that has $1.5 million for NIL, okay? Let's say they're a mid-major. That's it. That's all they have. They got to figure out a way to go get a kid for less money, okay? Understanding that if the kid has a good year, he's probably going to enter the portal, see if he can get. So they're reloading year after year at those levels, and I get it. But you can still find very good players for less money, okay? You take, like, South Florida just lost their point guard, Reed, the little guy from New York. He announced he's leaving. So let's just say he was making $100,000 this year. I don't know, but let's just say he's going to get 3 or 4 times that from a school that has $5 to $6 million. Well, South Florida can't give that kid that much money. So you got to find kids just like that and realize that every year is going to be a new roster. Every year you're going to have a different team per se. But some of the high majors, they're having to reload every year.
Yeah.
Okay. But I don't think it's the death of the mid majors. Look, unless something changes with these 4 top conferences going out on their own, nothing's going to change. There's still going to be really good teams at those other conferences.
I hope so. All right. Speaking of USF, they're now in the market for a new coach. And as you mentioned, the point guard is gone, probably the best player on the squad that they'll have left. So whoever comes in here, cupboard's probably a little bare. What's this? I mean, how good is this job at this point right now, given what we just discussed? And who do you think gets it?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been the quietest job search that I can remember. Whereas 2 years ago, you were hearing Ryan Odom's name and Amir Abdur-Rahim's name and Tom Crean. You were hearing names. It was every day there was something else going on. It was a lot more interest. I think the way Mike Kelly's handling it is really good, because at the end of the day, he understands the roster is going to need to be reloaded, totally reloaded. That's number one. Number two is the reason it's a good job is because of the following. You're in Tampa. You have the second best budget in the league. You have the second best NIL. Now, does that mean you have as much as the other schools in the other conferences? That's not what I'm saying. But you could year in, year out be one of the top 2 or 3 teams in that conference every year fighting for an NCAA berth, okay? if you can make $1.8 to $2 million a year coaching basketball in Tampa, that's a really good life. If you're an assistant coach making 250 to 300 grand a year living in Tampa, that's a really good life. What I feel bad about is all those guys that had renewed contracts, that Amir Abdur-Rahim signed, and then he tragically passed away. You're talking about 5 to 6 families, grown men, professionals and their families, that their lives are in a blender right now. Like, what do? Are they able to stay? Are they got another chance to get a job? So these are the things that are going to continue to happen at that level where, you just got to find a way. You almost got to find a way to survive. That's exactly what you got to do. But everybody's leaving now. Guys are going from big-time jobs to big-time jobs right now, getting more money. Yeah. So it's every day you're hearing something new.
So I've heard some names out there. Anybody that you think has the inside track for this USF job?
I thought they were going to go after the guy from Wilmington, and I heard they weren't. I think what Mike Kelly, and again, I'm not speaking for Mike Kelly. I think the guy, based on his hiring of Amir Abdur-Rahim, he knows what he's doing. He's going to try to find, in my opinion, a young head coach at a lower level school that is not making the money he can make here, that's been successful where he's at, and that's who's going to get the job. That could also be a high major assistant coach, but I think it's going to be someone that's proven they know how to run a program, they know how to manage NIL, they know how to, recruit, and they know how to win games. Now, who that could be? Could be a guy from Sanford. Okay, Bucky McMillan. I hear a lot of things about him that are really, really positive. I'm trying to think who else. There's been so little information about who they're looking at. I
heard Tom Crean's name, and what do you think about that? I mean, that's not what you just described, the young coach that, and that hasn't been – I don't think that's Mike Kelly's MO. I mean, he's had chances to hire older coaches. I think the younger coaches have worked better for him. Right. So I don't think Crean fits that mold, but he's a big name and a proven winner.
I just think this is the kind of job it could become, with the right people, a VCU, Utah State kind of job. Meaning you go into the hiring process, you get a really good young coach, he wins 3 or 4 years later, he's offered a big-time job. You go do it again, 3 or 4 years, another big-time job. This is what's happening. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The days of people staying in one spot, in my opinion, are becoming less likely, okay? Because the money is too great, and people are not turning down those jobs where you're quadrupling your salary, and it's a lifetime agreement where you never have to work again. In terms of those older coaches with experience, I don't know if this is the market for those kind of guys.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah, I don't think so either.
And I think, look, I was a young assistant coach trying to get head coaching jobs. Between the ages of 30 and 40, I must interview 3 or 4 times for jobs in the state of Florida. In my 40s, after coming here, I interviewed for a couple of jobs. I'm a big believer, guys need to get some chances, okay? And the guys that have had chances, that have made an unbelievable amount of money, that have done well at other schools, that have been out of the business a little bit, things have changed so dramatically. I'm not sure they can navigate what's going on. They're going to complain about don't have this, don't have this, don't have that.
Right.
Get someone in there that's not going to complain about a thing. If you got the second best budget, the second best NIL, the second best salary in the league, come in here, and just be positive about everything. Because look, I came down here in 1996. Okay, I was here for 7 years. I thought this place was an unbelievable job, unbelievable town. I've never left. Nothing has changed. Okay. And who knows? They might get a bid to go into another league here in a year or two. Now, all of a sudden, we're not having this conversation.
That's right. Then the NIL goes through the roof. Everything changes.
Right.
All right. Luke Laux, Clearwater Tornado.
Yeah.
Local kid, played at Florida State, played for Leonard Hamilton.
Right.
They stay within the family and hire him instead of Sam Cassell. I know you know Sam well. But did he really want the job? I had heard some things that he demanded, not demand is probably not the right word, but he said this is what we're going to need to compete. Maybe FSU didn't have it or didn't want to go there in terms of NIL. So what were you hearing, and what do you think of Luke as the choice?
Well, first of all, I'm not going to divulge all the conversations I had with Sam. Just generically, when you're in a position of strength like Sam Cassell is, a very high-paid NBA assistant associate head coach that's been in that league for 30 years as a player and as a coach, you've got to examine everything from a lifestyle change to, where you're going to live to different things that you've not had to deal with. So I think in the end, it was almost like an understanding this might not be a great fit at this time in my life. Okay.
Gotcha. Yep.
The fact that they were able to get Luke Locks, was in the NBA for 12 years, ever since he stopped playing at Florida State and graduated, I thought it was a great hire. Okay. He's young, he's energetic, he's very knowledgeable, he's got great personality. He was a really good player. He understands what they need. And he's one of those guys that is not going to come in there saying, we don't have this, we don't have this, we don't have this. Okay? Yep. He's on the lower end of the spectrum in that league for base salary, and it's still $2 million a year.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
His NIL probably pretty decent, I would say $2 to $3 million minimum. Okay? And he's hired a couple of good assistant coaches. He hired another guy that was at Florida State for a while, Michael Fly, who was the head coach of Florida Gulf Coast for a while. He hired a gentleman, last name of Gillian, who has been involved. He was the head coach at Chicago State. He's involved with travel ball in Florida forever. So I think that they realize it's going to be a little bit of a building process, but he's going to have to reload too. And he's trying to make it look like an NBA thing where coming here, we're going to develop you. You're going to have a chance to play professionally.
I love it. All right, what else did we not get to?
Couple of things. Really good friend of mine, Ryan Odom, who worked with us the first year we were here in 96, 97, is now the new coach of the University of Virginia. In the last 7-8 years, what that guy's done with his career is storybook. So my hat's off to him. We have a young lady that trained with me and was a great player at Plant, Kendall Cheeseman. She's at Belmont, just scored 1,000th point. They're in the quarters of the WBIT. Just came back from a 21-point deficit, won on the last second shot. You've got 3 former high school stars from this city playing in the Sweet 16. You got 2 kids from Tampa Catholic, Janai Broom and Carter Knox. Okay? And then you got Derek Sharp, a former great player at USF. His son, Emmanuel Sharp, at Houston, he's in the Sweet 16.
Nice.
And you know what's interesting, and I always say this, everybody talks about got to keep kids home, got to keep kids home. I was a big believer in that. But when the city isn't supportive of these kids at a very high level while they're playing high school ball, it doesn't help. You know what I'm saying? So I think if whoever gets this job can turn the town a little bit on the high school level, the travel ball level, to where you're growing up here, you're playing high school ball, travel ball from Tampa, we have the best situation for you to stay here and continue this journey. Those things need to take place, from the media to high school coaches, to the JUCO coaches, to the youth league coaches. I think that's a big thing. I tried to do it, thought we did a pretty good job of it. Didn't turn out to be, where I was able to stay. But I think that's the most important thing this new guy can do.
Let's dig into that a little bit, Z, because I think this is important. So I think in your brain, what you just said should resonate to everybody, but I don't think it does. Explain a little bit more of what you're talking about, the culture of basketball in Tampa Bay, right? And this USF coach, or any of these state coaches, FSU. I mean, we're missing out on great players. Janai Broom, like you said, went to Morehead State. What are we doing? And maybe it's because the culture of basketball in Tampa Bay is not. It's not great. High school basketball, it doesn't really resonate. We don't get a whole lot of, there's no media covering high school basketball whatsoever. The Times doesn't do it. The local TV stations don't do it like we used to do it. So there's a void. And then travel ball. So tell me a little bit more about what you're talking about.
I've been in Florida since 1970. Played my high school ball, college ball, and every year of coaching in the state of Florida except for one in Georgia. This town is not unlike some other urban areas, Miami, Lauderdale, Palm Beach, Jacksonville. sometimes when the kid is in your backyard, you're so familiar that it's not an exciting recruit, okay? And people find reasons to not recruit the kid. What I have had happen to me in my existence here, I remember watching Carter Knox 2 years ago at Tampa Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
I had a guy come up to me and go, "Hey, where's that number 21? Is he playing?" I turned to him, I go, "What are you talking about? He's right there." Well, he was referring to Carter Knox like Carter Knox wasn't playing very well. I turned to the guy and go, "That kid's going to be a McDonald's All-American and a lottery pick in 3 or 4 years. What are you talking about?" So when you have people in your own town that are knocking the best players, I remember Emmanuel Sharp was playing high school ball in this town. You'd stand around, this guy would say, "Oh, he doesn't defend. Oh, he doesn't play hard. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that." The kid was scoring 35, 40 points a game. That's what he can do. What is the issue? Like, how do you not? So you go years back when I had Tony Mack on Team Florida with Gordon Gibbons.
Yeah.
That was like the last time I ever saw or ever witnessed a community that just completely was rallying around a player. Everywhere you went, everything. Tony Mack, Tony Mack, Tony Mack, Tony Mack. That's what we need in this town. We need people that are absolute fans of the best players in this city. That's my opinion. Not knocking them.
No, I get what you're saying. Well, we need a Tampa Bay basketball commissioner. Nick, who should we nominate for that?
Well, what does it pay? As Jalen Rose said, how much? Well, no, my days of working for nothing are over.
My boy needs some NIL. Let's go. We need to raise some money to have a commissioner of basketball in Tampa Bay that oversees all this and gets the media. Like, seriously though, we need you to. That's my fault. I need you to come on the show more often. We need to get you out there. We can get you some NIL, at least some free dinners at Cafe Paradiso, for God's sake.
Just get me free tickets to the golf tournament with a media pass. That's all I need.
Oh, dude,
Let me tell you a funny
How come you didn't ask me? I would have hooked you up.
Years ago, when I was in the business still, I was in South Florida. I was at a high school game, and a guy goes, "Boy, if you sign that kid, you'll pack the house." So I turned to him, I go, "Pack the house? What are you talking about, pack the house?" He goes, "Pack the Sundome." I said, "That guy can't pack his high school gym. He's going to pack the Sundome?" Right. I said, so this is what the mentality. I mean, are you kidding me? Big time high school basketball games in other areas, they have to move them to arenas.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
In the old days in Miami, if Miami High played Jackson, they had to play the games at the junior college because neither high school gym could fit that many people. So they would move them to Miami-Dade North. 5,000 people be at the game. If you're not having that happen, then there's, in my opinion, there's something missing. And they've been unbelievable. I'll tell you what, we got 4 or 5 high school coaches in this town, Hall of Famers, absolute Hall of Famers. Joe Fenlon, Tampa Prep, Don DeZagua, Tampa Catholic, Ronaldo Garcia, who played ball at Florida at Sickles, Neil Goldman at Jesuit. You got Joe Willis at play. I mean, you've got unbelievable high school coaching going on in this city. Okay? If I took this job tomorrow, I'd have lunch with all 5 of those guys, of course, pick up the bill, and say, "Tell me who I should recruit in this town."
Yeah.
And those guys tell me, J.P. Peterson from Blake, I'm calling up I say, I'm offering you, because those guys know better than me how good someone is. They've been around the kid for 3 or 4 years. You understand? Yeah. That's the kind of relationship you got to have. Case closed.
And nobody's doing that.
If I told you about the meetings I used to have when I coached in South Florida, blow your mind. Like, this guy's won 1,000 games. If he's telling you the kid's good enough for us, what have we got to lose? Got nothing to lose.
Right.
Doug Applin, when Doug Applin was at Chamberlain, I was at Florida State.
Yeah.
Kept saying, Z, offer Jesse Salters. Z, offer Jesse Salters. We offered him, he signed. Jesse Salters was a heck of a basketball player.
Yeah.
Wound up transferring to South Florida.
Right.
But I'm talking, that kid was big time. Okay? Joshua Lewis, who's at Blake right now, his father, Fred Lewis, was a really good player at Chamberlain High for Doug Applin.
Yeah.
Doug begged me to sign that kid, but at the time we just gotten the job. So whatever happened, happened. I'm just saying, when a high school coach that was a really good player tells you something,
yeah,
just listen. It ain't that hard. You're making the job harder by debating the guy. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens in football too. I mean, I ask coaches, high school coaches, like, who's your rep at, USF or FSU? And they're like, yeah, we don't know. Like, how is that? I mean, and these are coaches that are putting out 5-6 D1 players a year.
Right.
And they're like, oh, we don't know. I'm like, how is that even possible? Are they just lazy? Are they, I mean, what is?
I'll tell you this. I think, and again, it didn't help me get a head coaching job, but what it helped me do, it helped me become a really good recruiter. Yeah. Being a high school basketball coach and a travel ball coach early in my career,
yes,
you get to meet everybody in your state. So when I finally got my college job at Florida State, I had connections from Pensacola to Key West. I could pick up a phone. Hey, JP, you're down there at South Broward. Who's in Fort Lauderdale? Z, get down here. There's a kid named Keon Dooling. Just offered a kid a scholarship. That's the kind of relationship you have to have with people in every little community.
I agree.
So P.S. to the story, when I took the job in South Florida, I had a connection in Sarasota because all the years I recruited in Sarasota. Guy wasn't a high school coach. He was just a guy that knew basketball in the city. Kerry Baker.
Yep.
I get the job. He goes, Z, meet me at Newtown Rec Center on such and such date. You're going to see the best players in Sarasota. I go down there, and if you've never been to Newtown Rec, you're not a very good recruiter. I go down there. I see Altron Jackson. I see Justin Hamilton. And I go, this is ridiculous. We signed Altron Jackson. I recruited Justin for 3 years until the Gators came in and beat us. That's what you have to have in recruiting. If you don't have that, it's blueprints for failure.
And you just said that guy that Luke Laux hired is a travel ball guy who knows all the stuff. Yeah.
He went from being a travel ball coach to the head coach at Chicago State.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last name
but he knows Florida, he knows travel ball, he knows all the coaches. I
guarantee you he's already got 2 kids that are ready to sign. Guaranteed. Yeah. And I don't keep up with everything, but you don't hire somebody like that without that deal.
Yeah.
No different than Pat Kennedy. When Pat Kennedy hired me, I was Team Florida assistant coach. My interview consisted, who of these 10 kids are you getting if I hire you? That was the interview.
Yeah. And who are those kids? And who'd you get?
Well, we got 3 of them. The only kid we lost was Chris Corsiani.
Yeah. Right. That's pretty damn good.
You get
that's how FSU got to the Elite 8 and should have been in the Final 4, and that's how. And we're a long way from that, partner. So hopefully, I love your idea. We got to do something for the local culture. So let's figure that out. Let's get some money people together and see what we can do, because I think it's important.
And here's the last thing: if you're not in contact with these people, somebody else is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Ronaldo Garcia he started at guard for 4 years at Florida. That guy gets calls from people. Well, if the USF guy is not calling him, but the Florida or Florida State coach is, who do you think he's going to work with?
Of course.
I mean, look, I'm a nobody in college basketball. Okay. I'm not in the business. I do all this other stuff. I still get calls from college coaches. What do you think about this kid? What do you think about this kid?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember the last time somebody from USF called me about anything.
Well, whoever the new coach is, if they don't put you on the staff, I don't know what the hell they're thinking.
I'm not.
I know you're not camping.
My day revolves around preparing for your show and being with my granddaughter. Okay. I got no time for any of that stuff. I turned 69 a couple weeks ago. I got no time for it.
Come on. If they called you to be an assistant and be their recruiter, you'd do it.
How much?
Well, we'll pay you $250, $400, $400, $500.
I'd have to get some of the money back that I lost not getting the job first. Now, let me tell you something, man.
Oh, my God.
If somebody told me, JP, and we've known each other 40 years, basically, almost.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that this was the life I was going to have 20 years ago, I'd say you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
So there is life after coaching. There is life after basketball.
Yeah, it's a lot better, too.
If I didn't love Tampa, we wouldn't still be here.
Yeah.
This city is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Get someone in here like Amir Abdurrahim that's going to galvanize this community.
Yeah, and
who
he
knows
did.
what can happen.
Yeah, he did, too. No.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. All right, dude. Always great chatting with you. Great stuff, my friend. Well, let's do it next week, too.
Bill Walton, come on.
Dude, I love that shirt.
Come on, Bill Walton.
The best.
Keep living.
Yeah, man. You ever run? You ran into Walton, right?
Bill Walton came over to me in Boise. We were about to play Georgetown to go to Sweet 16.
I remember that.
And at the shoot around, he goes, "Coach, come here." I didn't know he was talking to me. He called me coach. I'm like, "You got to be kidding me. I love this guy." He goes, "You know how you play against a shot blocker? Just get the ball over his hands. Don't worry about making it and give your guys a chance to get the offensive rebound." That's all he said. He goes, "Guys going to try and block every shot. Just get the ball over his hands, get it on the glass, and your guys will go get the offensive rebounds." And Pat Kennedy told our kids. It was classic, man. We beat them by 12.
I love it. That's a great Bill Walton story, right
Guy
there.
called me coach.
Coach, because you're the coach.
I
Instant
didn't
respect.
have any of my players call me coach. Bill Walton called me coach.
He was the best,
it's
man.
Funny. When you don't know someone's name, you call him coach, you call him doc. You can't lose.
You know what? I'll say this. I think he's the only announcer that when I would be looking for a game, I'm late at night because he always did West Coast, and I'd come across him doing a game. I don't care what the teams were. I don't care if it was Long Beach State against Salisbury State. I'm watching. I'm freaking watching because Bill Walton's doing the game, and he's going to say some crazy ass shit, and I can't wait for it.
He was best, and a legend, an absolute legend, sweetheart of a guy. It broke my heart when he passed. It broke my heart because if he grew up when I grew up, Bill Walton was it.
He was it. All right, man. Appreciate it, Z. If someone wants to get their kids involved in your camps coming up this summer, how do they get in touch with you?
Gee, I was wondering when we were going to get to that. D. Zimroth at brighthouse.com. Just
D. Zimroth at brighthouse.com. And on Twitter, at DZ Sports.
DZ_sports.
DZ_sports. Follow him for all great basketball stuff. All right, Z. Thanks, buddy. Love you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right. It's the best. Okay, we'll take a quick break. Eric Erlinson is in the bullpen. We're going to talk some hockey right after this. We are brought to you by Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799. One of the great Tampa iconic businesses. We love Italiano Insurance. So get your insurance checkup, get your business insurance, your they do all the work. You save all the money. 813-877-7799. Back in 3 with Eric Erlinson. Stay with us.
Hey, JP here for my concierge medical professional, Chris Lugo, PA. You've heard him on the show for a couple of years where he shares invaluable medical, nutritional, and supplement advice. With Chris, it's like having a medical provider as your best friend. What I love about this concierge service is the convenience and support he offers. I can text or call him 24/7 with any questions or concerns, and he'll promptly call in a prescription if needed. No office visits or copays required. It gives me peace of mind knowing I have someone genuinely invested in my health, not just focused on insurance profits. And the best part, the Bay Area Modern Medical Center's personal concierge service is more affordable than you might think. Don't let insurance companies dictate your health care. Take control of your health and wellness today. Visit BAMMC.com for more information and to schedule your initial free consultation. Empower yourself and take charge of your personal health with BAMMC.com. Hey guys, February's birthstone is amethyst, a stunning purple gem that symbolizes peace, protection, tranquility, and sincerity. Celebrate her birthday or your 6th and 17th wedding anniversaries with an unforgettable amethyst gift. And of course, for over 40 years, the Golden Diamond Source has been Tampa Bay's most trusted name in fine jewelry. We only sell natural diamonds. If it's real love, it should be a real natural diamond. Don't get a fake. The Golden Diamond Source first-time buyer program will help you learn about the 4 C's, what style, shape, and color works best for you and your unique style. Folks, it's the best customer service. They make it so easy for you, and they're not going to push you into something that you cannot afford. 0% financing for up to 5 years. If you finance $5,000, it's only $83 a month. Also, you can turn your old unused gold into cash or a stunning new piece. With gold prices soaring, there's no better time to trade up. So get that old jewelry and bring it on in. You know where, the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Overton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group and my man Scott Jeeves. If you're going to hire an attorney, do you want some guy looking for a quick settlement and a quick buck, or do you want an attorney with some chops? Scott is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator. Been practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. He is a peer-reviewed AV preeminent-rated civil trial lawyer. They just don't hand out those classifications. He's been the lead class action counsel on many complex consumer protection cases and has handled hundreds of serious personal injury cases. He's dedicated his career to protecting injured victims and is committed to vigorously representing you. We're local, we're trusted, and we get results. Personal injury and personal attention. Call for a free case evaluation. That's 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. The Jeeves Law Group.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at Third Generation Plumbing. Good time to get your AC tuned up right now. Go to their website, thirdgenerationplumbing.com. They do AC as well. And get that tune up for the summertime. And you'll find out what kind of great service and great customer service they have at Third Generation Plumbing. Go to thirdgenerationplumbing.com. That's the website. Tell them JP sent you. All right, let's talk some hockey with the man, Eric Erlinson, lightninginsider.com. The best coverage you will get on your Tampa Bay Lightning. What's up, Double East? How are you, partner?
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm well, not very well rested, but I'm well.
Yeah, you were up late last night and long weekend, huh?
Yeah, back-to-back weekend games. Never fun for the old Lightning Insider.
Yep. Well, but you do a hell of a job on the post-game show. We're listening. We're listening. It's good stuff.
Have your mentions recovered yet from the Brandon Halverson sort of stuff the other day? Have you recovered yet? No.
I try not to wade too deep into that stuff sometimes because you come out with a few things on your shoes.
Yeah. Well, tell me more about that because I'm not aware of what happened here. I was really busy this weekend doing golf stuff. So, yeah. And can we get a little bit more volume from you, Eric? Is that on your end, our end? What do we think?
Let me check my settings here.
Yeah, you're usually perfect, and now you're a little low today. I don't know if
mic volume is turned down.
Okay. Well, good. Well, yes, much better. Much better. Thank you.
There we go. Okay.
There we go. Yes.
So Jonas Johansson had to come home for personal matters. So the Lightning called up Brandon Halverson, who they just recently signed to a contract that includes next year. So they chose Halverson to make the start in Utah. And this debate always comes up: who starts in the back-to-backs? Does the number one guy get the front half or the back half? Right? That's always the debate. And most of the time, John Cooper and the staff go with Vazzy in the first game, and you let your backup maybe try and steal a game in the second half of a back-to-back. This was a different one because the game was 3:00 local in Salt Lake City. It was 5:00 local yesterday in Vegas. Vegas played Saturday night as well. And Halverson came in, and he gave up technically 7 goals because 2 of them were taken off the board on coaches' challenges. So my mentions were completely full of people complaining about why Brandon Halverson started that game and not Andre Vasilevsky. And the plan I think all along was to start Johansson in Saturday's game, and then he had to leave the team unexpectedly on Friday, and Halverson got in late. I think he got in midnight local time, and he wasn't good, but the team in front of him was worse.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like they did not help out their goaltender whatsoever. So anybody who wanted to try and pin that game on the goaltending was very misguided in their ire after
Yes, I
losing that
agree.
game to Utah, a game that was very winnable for sure. And they tied it twice, and twice within 30 seconds or so they gave up the go-ahead goal, and that wasn't all on Halverson. His rebound control could have been better, but the guys in front of him could have done a much better job of cleaning out the
Yes.
area in front of the net, and they didn't do that. So Halverson wasn't good, but the team was worse. So that was my mentions were flooded with that after the game.
Oh,
on
you
Saturday.
would think the Lightning are like all of a sudden the Lightning have no shot at winning a Stanley Cup. You know,
I
it's
know.
over. It's all over after that one game for Halverson and everything. But it just seems like in general, like the Lightning sometimes when they go out west, like I mean, I heard the word like they didn't match. You could see it obviously watching the game. Like that building was rocking in Utah, and the Lightning. I think you might have mentioned it didn't match the intensity. It kind of felt like they didn't match it a little bit last night against Vegas either. And even like, I don't know what the numbers are. If you have numbers on this, it seems like every time I sit down to watch a Lightning game that's in the afternoon, the Lightning just for whatever reason don't play their best. I don't know what it is. Like the Boston one a couple of weeks ago comes to mind, which was probably the worst game they played all year. Is there
Awful.
something to that you've noticed, or is it just like just not really a big thing?
I don't think it's a big thing. I mean, I think a lot of it is recency bias, right? Like we think, oh, it's an afternoon game. They're always bad in afternoon games, and I don't have the numbers to back it up. I don't keep track of that stuff, very closely. But it feels that way, I think, at times. But I think it's just because the couple of afternoon games, you're like, oh, they're terrible. But then you'll go back and you go, yeah, I remember that game. Well, that was a 2:00
Right.
start. Oh, okay, yeah. So,
Yeah. Well, I think it's fair to say since the deadline, this team they played incredible hockey through February. It was obviously their best month, 10-1-1. Then the trade deadline comes, and I don't think anybody could argue that the players were an upgrade, but they have not played to that level since. I mean, that's just part of it. What do you see going into that? Are they still struggling to find where these guys fit defensively? It's been bad, except for maybe the Boston game, the second Boston game. Yesterday, that first period, I was like, we may never win again. But then the next two periods, they look great.
yeah.
So it seems like there's inconsistency here.
Well, in the Dallas game Thursday night, they were tremendous in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yes,
They were really good and that's what kind of drives people crazy is that you see a game like that against Dallas and you're like, this is going to be a good road trip because Dallas is not an easy place to go in. They'd only lost 7 games in regulation on home ice all year. And they completely shut down the Stars. I mean, they were really good. And then you come back with those two performances on Saturday and Sunday. And you're like, why can't they just be consistent? And I think John Cooper even using the phrase the yo-yo right now. They're kind of going through a yo-yo process. And does that factor into Bjorkstrand and Yanni Gourde here? I think Yanni Gourde's been fine. I know he hasn't scored a goal, but he's what you expect from Yanni Gourde. Energy and a forecheck and feisty and everything else. He's picked up a few points here along the way. I think Bjorkstrand is still trying to find himself. What's it been, like 7 games, I think? Usually you try and look at 10-game mark and see where new guys are, where they're fitting in. And, and everybody is different. I always bring up the example of the year that Nick Paul and Brandon Hagel came in, right? Nick Paul was an instant fit. Doing between the leg goals and spinorama passes. I mean, he felt like he'd been here for years, and it took Brandon Hagel a while. It really took him until the next season to kind of fit in, and you certainly don't want to see that here with Bjorkstrand. But I think he's still trying to find his way a little bit in it, and he hasn't produced other than the goal in the first game. He had a point, I think, in the Utah game, but he has to be better. But here's the thing. The Lightning are not in danger of missing the playoffs. So can we please throw that conversation out the window?
Stop.
They still have to figure out a few things. One of them is, where does Bjorkstrand fit? Can he be a fit on that top power play? They put him over there on the left circle as a right-handed shot and trying to see if that can be something to fit. So, there's still, I hate to use the word experimenting, but they're still trying to experiment with some things here, and they're happening in game. And that's why I think Halverson was the guy they called up for Saturday's game instead of Matt Tompkins, because Halverson signed to a contract next year. And you have to find out what he is. I think an opportunity opened up itself, and they took advantage of it by calling up Halverson because if you think there's a chance he can be the backup next year, and I'm not saying he's going to be, but he is signed to a contract for next season. If you think there's a chance he can do it, you got to get him in an NHL game, and an opportunity presented itself. And if you want to call that experimenting or whatever, that's still kind of what they're doing here. I know there's 11 games left after last night's game, and we'll see where things go. But they have to be better defensively. I think that's the big thing. You see the defensive efforts, and you're like, what are they doing? Like it's November type defensive coverage, especially around the net. And then you look at the second period last night against Vegas. Now, score factors into that a little bit because they're down 3. Vegas doesn't have to push. And you're like, well, where was that in the first period? Where was that forecheck in the first period? Where was that time of the offensive zone in the first period? And so it is a head scratcher how it can go from game to game, let alone from period to period.
And I would probably say too, like offensively, not that they had trouble scoring or anything, but it was kind of, you don't see Braden Point like go 13 games where he scored 1 goal, right? And then he was able to get 2 the other night, and I thought he looked lively last night too. He seems to be rounding back into form. But I want to talk about a different player. We give him praise all the time, and I think the NHL is catching up to it, and that's Brandon Hagel. And I feel like everybody would tell you, oh, he's a very underrated player. At this point, am I overrating him in the fact that is it crazy to say he might be this year specifically one of the top 10 players in the league? I mean, you look at scoring, I think he's like 13th right now in the entire league. And we know obviously the two-way game that he plays, he's got 32 goals without a single power play, which I think now is what an NHL record. Like, am I overrating him by saying that he might be a top 10 player this year in the entire league?
I would think maybe a little bit. I don't know if he's underrated. I think maybe the better phrase is he's underappreciated, right? Or he kind of flies under the radar because people don't look. He's on a team of superstars, right? It's just going to follow in, and he's been great in the penalty kill. I think the Four Nations face-off brought his name to the forefront of a lot of people's minds that maybe didn't know who Brandon Hagel was. Getting in that fight with Matthew Tkachuk. But he's been an engine. He's been a driving force. And the chemistry that he has with Anthony Cirelli has been great. You look at the 32 goals, but I think he has 7 empty netters, right? But I think the 32 goals, I think is second, I think he has the second most 5-on-5 goals. It's somewhere in that range. He's definitely top 5 in 5-on-5 goals on the season. You mentioned the power play stat. Most goals into a season without scoring a power play goal in NHL history, kind of an obscure little stat that he's kind of set. But he's an engine. I mean, he wore a letter earlier this year when somebody missed a game. I forget who was out. And that kind of shows you what the Lightning think of him, right? Like, obviously the offensive numbers are there, but his leadership and you hear him speak the last few games last night talking about, hey, we have to get something started tonight. It's 11 games. We can't just flip a switch. I think back to that Boston game that was so poor in so many ways. And he was I thought he was great in handling those questions and speaking from the heart. He plays from the heart. He speaks from the heart. He's becoming a big-time leader on this team. Would I put him in a top 10 category of players in the league this year? My opinion, I think that might be a little bit of stretch. But, he's had that type of a year where you could at least put him in that conversation.
All right, Eric Arlinson joining us here, lightninginsider.com. All right, so the Penguins are coming in tomorrow night. Just a quick one. Then they got 2 more after that. Who we got?
Utah and the Islanders.
Utah, and we got Utah coming home. Obviously, these are 3 games that they need to get some points in, and they're back home. I mean, we talked about the inconsistency. At what point do they lock it in? And maybe this is a chance, this homestand right here, to kind of lock it in and get that consistency going. Or are there any line combinations that you've seen that you'd say, you know what, I think this is where Bjorkstrand needs to be, where the combinations need to be? Where do you think Cooper's at right now with all that?
Well, I wonder if we're going to see Bjorkstrand play with Cirelli and Hagel, right? Look, he's kind of broken up Point, Kucherov, and Gensel here the last little bit. So we thought with that being the top line that maybe Bjorkstrand would find a spot on the second line. we've seen it in practice once or twice, but we haven't seen it necessarily in a game to this point. So I think at one point we will see that, and Gord will go down, presumably with Gonsalves and Paul.
Yeah.
And look, I think when we get to it, I think they're probably going to be in an 11-7 situation to start the playoffs.
Yeah.
And we'll see when it kind of goes from there. But like, I will be honest with you, like, you talk about intensity and trying to find consistency. I don't worry so much about that stuff because, they're locked in. Seeding matters. People want to talk about, winning the division. They lost ground on the Panthers last night, who rallied to beat the Penguins after being down 3-1 in that game. So seeding still matters. I think home ice of most years, it wouldn't bother me one way or the other. I think this year might be a little bit different. Just because of how poorly they've looked on the road at times. And I still think I'm not comfortable with whoever's on the bottom pair defensively if they get caught out in a bad matchup. So if you start on the road, those matchups are a little bit more prevalent when it comes to it. But they're not bored. Like, this is not a situation a few years ago where they look bored on the ice. I just think they're not as dialed in because they know they're in. Right. And that kind of happened. Look, Toronto blew a 3-1 lead to Nashville the other night, or 2-0 lead to Nashville the other night. And Craig Berube was all PO'd at his team for that. So, these teams that are sort of in the situation, kind of have a different mentality when it comes to game. I would just like to see them get good habits. The defensive zone coverage, first and foremost, the awareness level to me is the big thing, because you look at those goals last night that Vegas scored. There's nobody within 10 feet of Jack Eichel on that one-timer. There was nobody paying attention to Thomas Hertl in the slot there on that shot. The Utah game, the net front coverage was bad. The defensive zone coverage has to be much better. That's what I want to see. I don't necessarily need to see playoff intensity because, you don't want to burn yourself out here right now, right? This is a nice little homestand where maybe you can kind of get some of that back in again, because the thing is, we know they can do it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like, you look at that streak in February, I think out of they went 9-0-1 during that 8-game winning streak. I think in those 10 games, they allowed 2 or fewer goals, I think in 6 or 7 of those games. Right. They can do it. The game against Dallas, they can do it. It's just a question of doing it consistently and just being better at it. And that's what I want to see out of these final 11 games. And if they do that, then the standings are going to take care of themselves.
And not to mention, like, I think the difference this year than in previous years for the team that makes me feel a little bit more confident about their chances in the postseason is 88 is he looks like 88 again. And like, if Hellebuck's in his own tier, and I think probably nobody would argue that at the moment, the way he's played in Winnipeg the last handful of years, if Vasilevsky's right there behind him, I think he's like second behind him in shutouts, the goals against, the save percentage, like he's up there with like his career high numbers. And kind of doing it, I feel like, quietly to like what the league would. I don't think the league's paying attention much to what Vasilevsky's doing, but you have to feel confident about your chances with him in net, obviously. And even like to the point last night, I know he ended up giving up 3 in the first period, but like before that, he was like stopping everything to the point where the Vegas social team tweeted last night, didn't know Tampa was allowed to have a literal force field in net. The opposing team's social media page was posting it. So, like, you have to think, like, the way he's bounced back to form, like, the Lightning are going to have a shot every single night.
Yeah, and when he plays at this level, you do have a shot, right? And, they're going to go into whatever matchup they have with the better goaltender, no matter who they play, right? Whether it's Toronto, whether it's Florida, whether it's Ottawa, whatever it happens to be, they're going to have, the advantage in net. And that's a confidence builder too, right? Like, that builds confidence. The team can play a little bit more confidently in those situations. And you're right. He has had a quiet year because just like the team, there was some inconsistencies early in the year. He actually would let in a goal here or there. You're like, we're not used to seeing him let that kind of goal in. But I think he has sort of locked himself in here a little bit of late. And, that 3 to 4 minute stretch where some pond hockey broke out, he was incredible. Like, he was just, listening to Dave Michigan on the broadcast last night, the pitch levels were through the roof, usually for goals. And, in this case, it was for, some saves that Vasilevsky made. So, yeah, he gives them a chance in the series no matter who they face, because he has had a bounce-back year. And a bounce-back year where he wasn't bad last year, coming off the back surgery, but his numbers weren't used to what we're seeing. They were good for most goaltenders. They were below average in terms of what his standard is. And you're right. He's back to being the guy that helped lead them to 3 straight Stanley Cup appearances and a couple of titles.
Speaking of the Panthers, they win last night. Is there a thought that you want them in the first round because, Ekblad will be coming off the suspension. We don't know about Tkachuk and Marchand. Maybe they're coming back right at that time and they don't know how to fit those guys in. I think you're going to get the Panthers eventually. You might want them in the first round. Does that make any sense?
That makes sense in terms of thinking at it that way. But Sergei Bobrovsky's playing well.
He's playing really well.
He's playing really well right now for them. I don't think it really matters. Of course, fitting in Marchand, a guy who may or may not even get into a regular season game before. I think it sounds like you probably will based on what the thought process was on the injury he had.
Yeah.
The Tkachuk one is still a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you don't know exactly what's wrong with him. I think Ekblad is eligible to return, I think, in game 3. So he'll miss the first 2 games of whatever series after the suspension for PEIs, basically, or PEDs.
Yeah.
But I don't think it matters. Maybe it makes sense in that aspect. But I think to get Florida in round 1, you'd have to have Toronto win the division.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Toronto's going to win the division. Now, Florida and Toronto still have 2 games left head-to-head.
Yeah.
So that's going to factor into it. The Panthers, I think, are 4 points ahead of both Tampa Bay, or 2 points ahead of Toronto, 4 points ahead of Tampa Bay right now with 11 to go. And the Lightning still have 1 game each against Florida and Toronto, and both of those games are on home ice. So there's still a long way to go. But I think if you're the Lightning, you figure you're going to face one of those 2 teams, Toronto or Florida, anyway.
Right.
I don't know how much it matters. Because you get through a first round series. Like last year, I would have loved to have seen the Lightning Florida round 2.
Yeah.
Because I think the Lightning might have been able to take them in round 2. They weren't. They just Florida was just fresh and ready to go for round 1 and just made a few more plays than Tampa Bay. I know it was a 5-game series, but it was a little bit closer than that.
Oh yeah.
In terms of the way the games played out.
Agreed.
And I think that the Lightning in round 2, after if the Panthers had gone through what they would have had Toronto, I think, if memory serves me correctly, getting through the Leafs in round 1, I would have loved to have seen Florida in round 2. This year, I don't know how much it factors into it. I think these 3 teams. First of all, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this playoffs format. I'm sick of seeing the same damn teams every year in the playoffs, and it's disappointing to hear that Gary Bettman said there's no appetite for a change. But I can tell you, I've talked to plenty of people who say they're ready for a change.
I would disagree with that.
Yeah. So
the entire panel the other night on I forget which one night. I don't know if it was NBA. I don't know who it was, but the whole entire panel was like, "Yeah, we got to change this. We got to change it."
It's seeing the same teams match up against each other. It's not doing the rivalry thing the NHL thought it would be. This is no longer the 1980s.
Yeah,
right? It's just not there. And there's nothing. The 1 through 8 is much more fair. And maybe it's going to take a Colorado-Dallas first-round matchup to fix this.
Yeah.
Because nobody pays attention. If the Lightning and Panthers play in the first round again, who cares? But if you do Dallas and Colorado, and one of the best 2 teams in the league is going to be out in round 1, but we've seen this certainly in the Atlantic Division for the past 4 years.
Yes.
But I think from a Lightning perspective, I don't think it really matters who they play in round 1. I like your logic there though, in thinking that Ekblad will miss the first couple of games, and Kachuk's coming back from a long layoff, but you know what? We saw Nikita Kucherov come back from a long layoff, and what did he do to the Panthers in Game 1 of that series in 2021? Yeah. He lit them up, I think, for 5 points in that game. So, but it's the playoffs are the playoffs, and that's when you have to have that intensity that you need. And I'm confident that this team will have it, and I say it all the time. If they lose in round 1 of the playoffs, it won't be because of how they played on March 21st.
That's true. That's 100% true. All right, Eric, tell everybody how they can get lightninginsider.com.
Yeah, well, you see the website there underneath the name, lightninginsider.com. There's 2 plans. You have a monthly plan that's $4.99. You have a yearly plan that's $40, so that comes out to $360 something per month if you pay up front for a full year. little tough writing last night. I haven't gotten anything up from last night's game yet. I plan to finish that at some point, before the day is done here. But lots of game recaps. I will have something up at some point about that playoff format and some of the feelings from inside the Lightning locker room.
Good.
What's going on there? So some interesting comments from a couple of people that will be up there. Again, the work schedule sometimes interferes with the writing schedule and vice versa. Right now, the work schedule is interfering with the writing schedule. So I will get that up at some point, but that's where you can find it. And of course, on the Lightning Radio broadcasts.
Absolutely. Great stuff, Eric. Thanks, partner. Appreciate you.
All right, boys. Be well.
LightningInsider.com. You got to have it if you're a Lightning fan. All right, we have breaking news concerning the Rays stadium situation. So we will get into that. I got to find out in the break exactly what's going on, and then we'll react to it. I think it has something to do with some scuttlebutt I heard this weekend. So we will get to that. We are brought to you by the great folks at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Concierge medicine is where it's at, folks. Get Chris Lugo to be your concierge doctor so you can do what I did when you catch a neurovirus and you need something quickly in terms of a prescription. You text him, he calls it in the morning, you go get it or you have it delivered. There's no going into urgent care. There's no going into waiting 6 months till you get an appointment at your primary care. That's the way you got to do it. Find out more. Go to BAMMC.com. Get your free consultation with Chris Lugo and find out what it's all about. Concierge medicine, the way to go. BAMMC.com. Back in 3 with the breaking news. Stay with us.
Hurricane Helene put a hurting on Tampa Bay, and for many of you, the rebuild will be a long process. You must beware of unscrupulous contractors offering up quick fixes for incredible prices. It's a scam. So go with long-standing reputable companies like Third Generation Plumbing and AC. My friend John Rodriguez has been serving Tampa Bay since 1995 with hundreds of 5-star reviews. If you need a new AC system or any home repairs from Helene, they will work with insurance companies to get you taken care of quickly, expertly installed, of course, and a 1-year maintenance plan and 10-year warranty included on all AC units. 0% financing for 60 months. Contact them at thirdgenerationplumbing.com or 813-961-8024. That's 813-961-8024, thirdgenerationplumbing.com. So many of our Tampa Bay neighbors are finding out the hard way from Hurricane Helene that homeowners insurance does not cover flood damage. You must have flood insurance. It's a separate policy. Immediately call Italiano Insurance at 813-877-7799, and they will shop around to find the best policy before rates go up. Lock it in. Over 60% are underinsured in Florida, or you're not getting your discounts that you're entitled to. So do an insurance checkup at Italiano, and they could save you thousands of dollars. Italiano will make sure you're with a highly rated insurer, so there are no surprises in your time of need. Our hearts go out to all our neighbors devastated by Helene. These are the times we're proud to protect all the pieces of your life. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799. Ciao, Paolo Tini here, owner of Caffè Paradiso, voted number 3 People's Choice Award on Open Table. I want to thank all our loyal family of customers that have been enjoying our great traditional Italian dishes we make from scratch every day. It's a great family story we're proud of. Our family moved from Rimini, Italy in 1984. My dad, Caesar, started Donatello, and that's where I got the start in the restaurant business. I started Caffè Paradiso on South McDill in 1995, and we've been there ever since. From our traditional ossobuco, a veal slow roast for 4 hours, to our daily fresh catch, the Gruppo Paradiso, with a piccata sauce and lobster claw meat, homemade pasta like lasagna, farfalle salchicha, which is a bow tie pasta homemade with fresh sausage. Hold on a minute, JP's favorite. I love it. So come and have a glass of wine with me on South McDill. Get a reservation on Open Table and see all our 5-star reviews. Ciao, see you soon at Paradiso.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show.
The JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. If you have any issues in the legal realm, make sure you hit them up for a free case evaluation. Jeeves Law Group, you hear Scott on the show all the time. Very easy. Give them a call. Let them know what's going on. and they'll set up a free consultation for you. JeevesLawGroup.com. And, of course, if you're involved in an accident, the first call you should make is to the JeevesLawGroup.com. So just go to their website. You can get their phone number or email them. Tell them you've been involved in an accident. They'll get you right in. And they will treat you with the personal service that you deserve. So JeevesLawGroup.com is the place to go. Not attorney spokesman, offices St. Pete and Tampa. All right. Breaking news. Ding, 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 ding. Colleen Wright and Jack Prater from the Times reporting St. Pete City Council will decide on whether to replace the roof of Tropicana Field a week later than planned. City Administrator Rob Gertis emailed council members Friday to let them know city staff was working on contractual details for the Trop's roof repair, which is expected to cost $22.7 million, according to contract drafts. I've seen numbers much higher than that. I don't know if that's including the insurance payments, FEMA payments, whatever, but $22.7 million, I think, is way low. Council Chairperson Copley Gertis confirmed Monday the vote has been pushed off till April 3rd. Blah, 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 blah. The city said it's still on track to fix the Trop by opening day 2026. The Rays are playing at Steinbrenner Field, blah, blah, blah. We don't anticipate this creating an issue with our current timeline for work to occur, Rob Gertis wrote. Okay, a couple things here. First of all, this obviously pushes it past the March 31st deadline for the Rays to accept the deal, which is interesting. Gertis says it's because of some contractual things. Well, they've had a few months to get all that done. So I don't know. That seems a little iffy. I mean, I'm not involved in the office. I'm sure there's a lot of complicated stuff that needs to go on, but the fact that they're delaying it till after that is interesting. Now, I'm just going to say this. I'm not reporting it as fact at all, but I tell you guys this stuff all the time. I hear things, right? I'm hearing things. So I had someone in a very credible position tell me this weekend that the sale is moving forward and it may be quicker than we think, which is interesting because I was also told last week that Sternberg is lawyering up and requesting documents for a possible lawsuit. So that would seem like the sale is going to be protracted, but of course he could still sell the team and do whatever legal action he wants to do, which I fully expect there to be litigation over the pursuit of the development rights because he may think that he can get some money on that. Worst case is if you sue the city and the county, you're probably going to get some type of settlement because nobody wants to go to court. Certainly Major League Baseball doesn't want to go to court. So that is what it is. We'll see where that goes. But this delay, I think, is interesting because it does push it past the deadline. And remember, the city of St. Pete, Mayor Welch and the Pinellas County officials have said they don't want to work with this ownership group. Okay, doesn't mean they don't want to work with the Rays. So if a new ownership group was announced like relatively soon, and I'm not saying that they would take the St. Pete deal because my information is none of these groups, I should say the groups that I think that are most likely to win the bid do not want to build in Tampa or in St. Pete. They want to build in Tampa. That's where Major League Baseball wants the stadium, obviously. So I think what does it mean? It could be just what they say it means is the contract hasn't been worked out yet. I still think there's going to be a settlement, and maybe they haven't reached the settlement number yet. So I think there's a lot of probably negotiations going on right now as far as, do they seek a settlement? Because I know Richie Floyd, I'm going to try to get him on this week from the St. Pete City Council. He had mentioned that a settlement is more likely. I don't think the city of St. Pete wants to get into the job of physically repairing the Trop. To me, it's an open-ended number. Are they going to try to do it as cheaply as possible? Yes, of course. Is that good for the fans? No. Who's going to pay for the insurance on the roof for the next 3 years? I just think there's so many, which is like $7 million a year. So that's added costs. It appears that Steinbrenner Field is going to be, although they haven't played a game there yet, it appears that that's going to be a hit. I think people are going to love it. And then you're going to be sitting there saying, okay, we just voted, and I don't see $22.7 million as the cost. I don't know where they got that. She says it's according to the contracts. And I'm not saying her reporting is wrong. I don't know in what context that means. Is that with the insurance money baked in and what they think they're getting from FEMA? And I don't know, really, are they getting FEMA money? So I think all of that needs to be more fleshed out. But to me, this just sounds like there may be something more going on here, because I think they've had plenty of time to figure out, quote, contracts for fixing the Trop. So
it's never easy. It's never easy. Never easy when it comes to this. I guess I saw like Jason Stark at The Athletic had written an article about, I guess he visited Tropicana Field last week.
Right.
I don't know if you saw this article or not, because I know it came out last week. But really good article. I recommend reading his findings while he was there at the Trop. And there's some great quotes in here from some players and everybody involved. But even like Pete Fairbanks, I think he's in here. He's asked about where he thinks the Rays are going to play in 2026. And he gave a quote. I don't know, but if it's going to be the Trop, there needs to be something to cover it before it rains, which it's an obvious answer from Pete there. If it's not covered by the start of the rainy season in some capacity, all bets are off. There aren't enough Surf Pro trucks in Central Florida to restore what could start growing in there if it keeps getting wetter and wetter. That was Pete Fairbanks, who never shies away from giving a great quote in that Athletic article. And Jason then writes that March 27th, the voting on it, which we now know has been delayed. If it passes, the new lid could theoretically be in place by December. And granted, I don't know anything about construction and everything necessarily and timeline. December seems pretty aggressive to have if they approve this, whenever this vote happens, to have the new lid on that ballpark by December. That seems pretty aggressive, no?
Yeah, really aggressive. Really aggressive. I don't, they still have to fix the framing.
There's a lot to be done there. A lot to be done, I'd have to think. Because it's not just the roof. It's everything else that's inside the stadium that got damaged pretty badly, which is obviously going to drive up the cost even more.
Right. I mean, I didn't read the Stark article. Did he make it sound like it's like apocalyptic in there? Because that's what it looks like from the outside.
Pete Fairbanks equated it to a haunted house, and that it could get real spooky in there if you wanted to. So
yeah. I can tell you this: a year after being in the Yankees clubhouse, they're not going to want to come back to Tropicana Field. And again, here's the thing: so you have a city, who's going to repair the Trop, working with a team that just screwed the hell out of them and made them spend millions and millions of dollars and promising them all these things, not to mention the cost in the time that they could have been redeveloping the Trop and doing something different in the last 2 or 3 years while they were trusting this group, which I told them not to in the beginning. I mean, all the damage that's been done. So now you're going to work with this ownership group. So when it comes time to make these decisions, like, should we go with this or should we go with this? This one's a lot cheaper. What do you think the city's doing? They're going to do it for the lowest common denominator. So everything in that place is going to be at the lowest level possible. It's already a shit stadium. So now you're going to repair it, to the minimal levels. And then what? The Rays are going to come in and spend more to make all the nice bars in the outfield look better. They're going to, spend all the extra money to make it good for the fans. I mean, I don't see that happening. It's going to be a big pissing match until it gets repaired. And who knows what the cost is going to be. And the city would certainly like some certainty in costs. And every dollar, how do you think Mayor Welch is going to feel about spending any dollars to repair that place? It's a bad marriage. It's a really bad marriage. And especially as well as I think this Steinbrenner thing is going to go. And if there's going to be new ownership and wanting to build in Tampa. So if that happens, and it certainly feels like that's where this is headed, reported by me, ESPN, The Athletic, Ken Rosenthal, Jeff Passan, that there are, and I know there are groups in Tampa, Tampa-based groups that are offering $1.8 billion for a team that's worth $1.25. At some point, I mean, what are we doing here? Let's move on. Everybody wants to move on. New ownership, new stadium in Tampa, blow up the Trop. Sorry you didn't get your farewell season. We'll put a video together. Nick and everyone can gather around the Trop and sing Kumbaya and, whatever you want to do. And I'll push the plunger. And we'll get that, and we'll just freaking move on to a state-of-the-art stadium in the middle of the market with an ownership group that can actually spend money and get to an average payroll like we always should have been, and other owners don't have to give revenue sharing to Stu Sternberg. I mean, let's effing move on. Repairing the Trop is just like the worst idea ever. Nobody wants to play there. The players don't want to play there.
I want my send off, man. I want my proper send off.
We can do it.
And also, I mean, I listen. And the other thing too, I know this has nothing to do with baseball. I mean, it kind of has to do with baseball because it directly impacts this. I mean, in this article I was just reading, like, the owner of Fergs is like in here, and there's a whole snippet about the impact on his business, and like I truly feel terrible for per the what's his name in here, Mark Ferguson. Like I truly feel terrible for him because he's like, this is like he's like projecting at least a 30% loss in revenue by not having the Rays playing there. Like I truly feel bad. Like that's the part of this that sucks. It's like as much as we want baseball over here, like there's going to be an impact on like a business like that for sure. That relies a lot on the Rays and everything for those pre and post game stuff. So I hate that, but obviously we know that what's going to happen is going to happen, and where this thing should be and where it should play out. But I don't know. It's never easy. It's just never, ever easy with this whole situation.
I mean, I feel bad for Mark, but they'll give him another prime spot across from the stadium in Tampa. He'll make his money back.
Because that was the same place that was in front of Amalie for years, right?
Yeah.
And then he moved it over there.
Yeah. Yeah. So he'll be fine. Mark knows how to make money. He'll be fine. It sucks. But whatever's going to go in there, if they could just move on, he'll make money from that as well. He'll make tons of money. When they put a convention center in there, he'll make even more money. Trust me on that. All right, let's get to some comments here. Daniel Rivera, to break ground on the Ybor site, you would need to have a sale done by the All-Star break at the earliest, and framework for Ybor in place by Thanksgiving, and groundbreaking no later than Christmas. Daniel's thought this out. I think those timelines are doable, all of them. Repairing the Trop is not doable. B says they will have a 40-story condo replace Fergs in about 5 seconds. Hey, Mark, how about we pay you $10 million or $20 million? Some of the acreage around the Trop site is going for $20 million an acre. Can we pay you $20 million? You good? Oh, he's good. He's fine. Yeah, your real estate's going to go through the roof, boss. Come on, he'll be fine. I wouldn't work in the Trop right now, Christopher Cole. I wouldn't either. Are you going in there? Nope.
I was going to say, too, that's the other part. Like, if you get the stadium, like the roof on it and everything, like you have to bring that up, I'm sure, to to code and whatever that is.
Yeah.
Talking about things that I really have no understanding of, but I'm just assuming you got to bring it up to code. You got to make sure that it can inhabit as many people would be flowing in there for these games as frequently. I don't know about the seating, if there's damage to those things. Like, it's just
how stupid are you going to feel when you fix the Trop, you put another roof on it, and another hurricane comes through this year and wrecks it?
Well, what kind of roof are we putting on this thing? Are we going the identical roof we had, or are we it's been 30 years since it's been over 30 years since that thing was built and had that roof. So are we going with the new?
It's designed for a fabric roof. They can't suddenly put a concrete roof on it or something more fixable. And if they do, it's going to be at least $100 million for a new roof. Totally.
I damn sure we're going to be walking on those catwalks. I'll tell you that.
Hell no. Hell to the no. B wants to know why Jeff Passett makes $3 million a year. Why does Stephen A. Smith make $50 million a year? What $20 million? Whatever the hell.
Because Jeff Passett is the cream of the crop when it comes to baseball writers right now.
I bet I can find somebody for less. That's why ESPN's hemorrhaging money. Recon Scout says, I don't think the players are going to enjoy playing in Florida summer humidity. You know what?
Well, they're not going to be playing many games in the summer there.
Yeah, and not only that, we've all grown up playing baseball in the summer. We somehow survive. It's not. I mean, God, you guys make it sound like it's 1,000 degrees. It's a little hot and humid at night, just like it is in Atlanta. They don't have problem drawing, just like it is in St. Louis, just like it is in Baltimore. I mean, it's not like it's not humid other places. It's summertime. It's baseball.
Miami did it for 20 years.
Yeah. Of course, they didn't draw flies, but Christopher Cole says, "Don't forget the mold." Yeah, right. Thomas Casper says Hal Steinbrenner is getting $50 million for 26 and 27. I don't know if he's getting $50 million, not a year, right? So listen, if St. Pete just pays the $15 million a year that the Yankees are charging for rent, that means the Rays don't have to pay it. So he's still living rent free. And you put in a few thousand more seats, you're fine. Like I think Steinbrenner Field will be fine for the next few years. As long as you have new ownership group who's going to build in Tampa, everybody will be fine with it. It's just a temporary solution. It's a great location. It's a very intimate stadium. We add a few thousand seats in the outfield. It's going to be super fun. We don't need to go back to St. Pete. It just doesn't make any sense. What else? Yes, Joe Dombrowski says stadium is still exposed to the elements. It's going to be really hard. Yeah, Lord knows what the freaking deal is going to be. B says it's $23 million for the roof price alone. And how do they even know that? It's going to be more than that. Plus, trust, cost overruns. Yes. What else we got here? Lonnie Wilkins, good morning to you. It says, I don't care. I want the Trop to get its flowers if we do go down this path. Why?
Me and Lonnie share the same brain.
I love nostalgia, but not for this place. Last Waltz Media says, so County is hoping Stu sells and they're hoping to settle so they don't have to fix the Trop. Yeah.
I feel like
absolutely.
I feel like he had another comment up there, and I actually saw this on social media. I haven't been down there in Tampa to see it. There was somebody that put a sign on. Yeah, here it is. I saw a new banner on the corner of Lambright and Del Mabry of a business saying, hey, Stu, why not build the Rays Stadium here? I saw that. I saw that on social media that somebody made this elaborate banner and was like, build it right here. Just right here. Start. Go.
Where's Lambright? Is that by Ray J?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is close to Ray J, yeah.
Yeah. I think next to Ray J, that big, entertainment center right in the middle between those two with a sliding roof. Boom. We kill two birds with one stone. The Bucs get their needed climate control for Super Bowls and get a renovation, add some seats there as part of the whole deal. The Glazers get cut in on the development around the stadium. The new ownership group of Rays gets cut in on development around the stadium. The county gives up. They don't have to buy the land because the county already owns it, and the county will put money into the stadium, as will the city. You get a lot of good things going there.
Hey, and if you ever want to just play in Ray J, as we just saw with the Bananas, if you want to, you could construct a lineup 1 to 9 of just lefties, and we'll just mash.
Yeah, that's not happening. All right. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys for jumping in. Appreciate a great basketball conversation with David Zimroth. So if you missed that, check that out on the podcast. Also, Eric Erlinson on Your Bolts. We'll be back in Amalie Arena tomorrow night with the Penguins in town. So I will see you there for that. Great job, Nick. Appreciate you. Any other last words you'd like to give the great folks here?
Just excited to be back in the routine after all this traveling. And, of course, we got 11 games left in the Lightning season, so that's going to be fun. And I'm enjoying this tournament. I'm enjoying this tournament and everything.
Yeah.
In Florida, as much as we're not too fond of the Gators around here, of course, but I do cheer for the Florida teams in these tournaments to go far.
I love it.
And they're fun as hell to watch. They're fun as hell to watch.
Man. Yeah, it's fun. Hope they Win a championship. That'll help basketball in this area.
And of course, opening day. We're so close.
Coming up. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. More fun and frivolity. Have a good one.